Hello, don't kill bears. Having killed the bear in mortal combat, I felt a foreboding and an immense fear, stemming from my inherent instinct of self-preservation, and because other bears would probably sense me as their enemy, a threat, thus seeking me out in order to attack me. Now this is undesirable, but it's understandable, because I was now a bear assassin. You see, the grizzly bear is a ferocious killer in its own right. It can slay a human being with a mere flick of its massive clawed paw. Hiding my Nitro Express Magnum, the world's most powerful handgun, under a shrub, I unsheathed my large weapon from its scabbard with customary modesty and set about carefully skinning the grizzly. Allow me to explain. My comprehensive plan was as follows: to skillfully remove the skin from the bear, because like me it was 5 feet 11 3/4 of an inch tall, and get inside the pelt, thus enabling me to seamlessly blend in with any bears that one may encounter in the Canadian outback. It will be possible to mix with other bears and be able to study them. I have always been eager to become a bearologist. Having studied bearology to advanced level at secondary school, I could lecture on the subject. I'd soon be a television celebrity and the Hollywood star of a movie called Bear Behaving Badly, or an adult film, Barely Legal. Having finally and meticulously hand-picked the final bits of bear blubber and sinew from it, I pulled the bearskin on. It fitted fairly well. In fact, it was like stepping into biking lycra. The major exception was that this particular suit was hairy, very hairy, on the outside. This was not at all problematic, as it was currently very cold in Canada. It covered up the old love handles and floppy bits. I felt I looked rather good, even authentic. And with an ensuing surge of confidence, I went in search of other bears to study. It's highly recommended not to go into bear country alone, but I was now, to all intents and purposes, a bear. I trudged and trudged like a grandfather clock for mile after arduous mile, when I suddenly was confronted by a large bear. Now, it was much bigger than me. It was about 860 pounds, so it must have been a male bear, and was clearly the same species as me. But I recalled that while skinning my bear, it didn't have a thingy, a willy. It hadn't occurred to me until this moment that I was in a girl's bearskin. I suppose this is where my plan was flawed and somewhat misplaced. I hadn't thought of the consequences of this current scenario. In typical bear standing pose, the large male grizzly roared. Arrgh! I roared back, as I considered this a fitting and natural response. Arrgh! The male bear stopped and looked rather interested in me. Then he approached me with a little more than mere interest or curiosity. In fact, he seemed rather, curious, with a large splodge of fervent amorosity. Yes, definitely friendly. In a strange manner, I quite appreciated this elevation of my significance and the magnetic effect that my bearish beauty was having on this wonderful creature. I was Salome, beguiling Herod. I was Sasha Massoc's silent rapture, Wanda. I roared again, Arrgh! Optimistically hoping that this would divert the huge bear's attention from my overtly female, bearish allure. But it didn't. He came close and sniffed me with his large, moist, licorice black nose. Then he nuzzled his massive, hard, hairy face against mine. Just in that nuzzle moment, I realised the extreme power of this bear. Actually, it was jolly nice being nuzzled, but then it dawned on me that I was in severe danger. This creature could rip me to pieces and eat me if he penetrates the old disguise and realises I'm a chap in a girl bear skin. I suddenly remembered the story of Goldilocks' encounter with three bears, and I remember she legged it when the bears caught her in the house after having messed the porridge up and broken their furniture. However, bears in the real world, and not the fantasy world of fairy tales, can run a lot faster than us humans, so legging it was out the question. I would have to stay and face the music. The huge grizzly powerfully bent me over, and with a decadent disregard to my wishes mounted me. It was horrible, a ghastly and appalling experience. Then this magnificent creature just pushed me to one side and roared a gigantic "Roar!" I was so angered by this bear's behaviour, the very next day I went back and retrieved my Nitro Express Magnum, the world's most powerful handgun, from under the shrub and returned. The huge grizzly crept up behind me and repeated the events of yesterday. I crouched submissively, pretending to be just another girl bear. I didn't want this ferocious creature to know what a fraud I was, as he would probably rip me apart. He looked down at me with hostile, yellowish-brown eyes, took his head off and said, "Excuse me, you're obviously not here for the hunting, are you, mate?" A painful lesson. Don't kill bears.